Presuppositions of NLP. Now, this is something which is often given very sort of skipped over, if you like, so to speak. Presuppositions of NLP. The page is page number 9. So what I'd like us to do, first of all, is just go through the presuppositions of NLP, explain what they mean, and then I'd like us to run a little exercise on them. So, so I have them all laminated here. So let's talk about this one. What about respect for other people's maps of the world? Other people's map of the world.
Not making judgments on, or like shutting them down by saying like, oh well, like someone makes a statement and then saying, well, I don't believe in that. So you're just basically shutting them down and not giving a crap about their way of.
Yeah. We all, remember we're talking about the communication model, we all have different maps of the world. The map is not the territory, is another one, which means what? What does that mean? So what is the territory? What is the territory? Non-judgmental, yeah, definitely.
Reality?
So the territory is reality. What does reality mean?
That your subjective, limited perception is not reality.
Yeah, so we have our own reality of the territory, what we believe the territory to be. Now the territory is, as we know from the communication model, and we know from physics, there are light waves that I cannot see, there are sounds that I cannot hear. I am limited by the scope of my senses, right? So, first of all, my reality is not necessarily the territory around me. Then I filter the information that comes in through my 5 senses, and I create my version of the reality. Yep. So I now have my mental map, if you like, my map of what's out there, which is different from each person in this room. If we are saying respect for other people's maps, what it means is, who am I to say that my map is the right map? Yeah? That my map is reality. It's my reality, it may not be yours. Now, if I'm working with any of you, am I working with my map, or should I be working with your map?
Your map?
My map?
No. Yeah. The other person.
Your map. Okay, absolutely. So again, it's about, okay, what is this person's map? Because otherwise, if it's about me, I could be completely missing this person. What I'm talking about is based on my perception of reality, my interpretation of the territory. Yeah? If it's different to this person's, then I could be completely miscommunicating with this person. Does that make sense? So the first thing I need to do is respect this person's map, because it may well be different from mine, probably is different from mine. And if it's different from mine and I'm working with this person, then it pays for me to understand this person's map in order for me to be able to communicate with them in just general communication. Think about how often relationships go wrong because we see things differently. It's exactly the same thing. We have a different map. By understanding the other person's map, you don't have to agree with it. By understanding it, then you can work with that to find an outcome. If you are just enforcing your map over somebody else's, of course there's going to be confrontation, disagreement. Yeah? Milton Erickson would say, as would Virginia Satir, I don't know you. I don't know you. Teach me about you. Teach me about you. And when I know you, using methods to really understand somebody's map, the meta model of course being one of them, then I can have a discussion with you that means something to you. I can help you find whatever it is, if we're talking in terms of working with somebody in a sort of a therapy or a client situation, or even a business situation, it's the same thing. By understanding that person's map, I can then say things that mean something to that person and can move them from where they're stuck to where they want to be, based on their map. Because if I'm just doing it based on my map, it may not go anywhere. Does that make sense? So respect for other people's map is very, very important. The system with the greatest flexibility of will control the system. This is known as the law of requisite variety. The more flexible you are, the more likely you are to achieve your outcome. So be flexible. People have all the ability they need. There are no unresourceful people, only unresourceful states, I beg your pardon. Only unresourceful states. Your state may not be conducive for what you're doing, so change your state. And of course, a big part of what we're going to be doing over the next 7 days is learning how to have state choice, because that's really a core skill in NLP, to be able to exert state choice. Behavior and change is to be evaluated in terms of context and ecology. We talked about this earlier. Yeah. So this particular change we're talking about, is it ecological? And context can be an important part of that. Map is not the territory, we've already talked about. There is no failure, there is only feedback. What does that mean? What does that mean to you?
A learning experience that you can take from.
It's a learning experience.
Well,
Yeah.
you can still say, okay, well, I didn't do well at it, but I didn't graduate from the course, but I learned a lot of interesting information. I met a lot of interesting people. You can take.
In addition to that, okay, so what was it that prevented me from graduating from the course? As I examine it, I was running patterns that stopped me doing X, Y, and Z. For example, being aware of those patterns so you can work on those patterns, get rid of them. The next time, boom. So remember we were going, I'll come to you in a sec. Remember we were going through that mastery cycle just now, unconscious incompetence, etc., etc., etc. Yeah? Well, what is that without feedback? Without what some people may determine as failure, you can't learn without it. It is an essential part of learning. It is an essential part of learning. So if every time you don't get the outcome that you've been searching for as you set out, you deem it as failure, what on earth are you doing to yourself? Does that make sense? Yeah? Because in not succeeding, you can actually have a look at that and say, okay, where did it go wrong? What was not happening there? Okay, I didn't achieve that there because of X, Y, and Z, etc., etc. You take all that stuff on board and you move through that cycle, the mastery cycle. You can't move through the mastery cycle without the feedback loop. It's simply not possible. Does that make sense?
So that means you're reflecting back on your performance,
Mm-hmm.
where I did wrong, and then
What didn't work for me?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then you change your strategy, being flexible. And
Yeah.
move on.
Yeah. Or flexible, or taking the learnings. How many people here work in HR or work in, are a line manager or are subject to line managers or whatever it may be? Anybody? Yeah. Ever had feedback given to you? Ever had bad feedback given to you? Non-constructive feedback? What type of non-constructive feedback have you had? Can you give me an example? Sorry? And what was the feedback?
I used to do better.
You can do better?
I used to do better
You used to do better.
from my boss.
Okay.
My boss telling me I used to do better.
So your boss used to say to you, you used to do better than this. Okay.
He used
No.
to do better.
He used to do better.
Oh, I see what you mean. So he was better than you. Okay, that's really constructive. Yep, fantastic. And is that all he used to say, or did he follow that with anything?
No, it was a sentence.
Okay, great, excellent.
You're too young to do this.
You are too young to do this. Nice, like that one.
My son came home from school in a bit of a mood. He started high school this year, and in his own words, he'd run his nuts off in a cross country, only for the teacher to get in and say, "Your brother did that quicker than you last year."
Lovely.
And now he walks cross country, and I've tried to say, "Joe, try and run." He's like, "No, I'm not going to do that for him now. Like,
Yeah.
he's got to put this barrier up, like, you know."
So a lot of creation of limiting beliefs, absolutely. A big problem with feedback is often given at the, remember this thing here? Remember this? Feedback is often delivered at an identity level. You were rubbish. You are no good at this, etc., etc. Is that familiar to people? Yeah? So it's an identity statement rather than a behavior statement. Yeah? You would be more effective if at this point you tried doing X, Y, or Z. It's a behavioral level. Or have you considered doing it, whatever it may be, at a level of behavior, not you are no good at this. Yeah? A lot of children are told things at an identity level, not a behavior level. Does that make sense? Or a skill level. You know, if actually there's a great course you can go on which will teach you X, Y, or Z, you know, because that element wasn't working for you. It's not an identity statement. Go ahead.
Just have a question. When, like for example, my boyfriend's not a very good dancer. I don't know what it is. It just some people are a little bit
You
more
are not a very good dancer.
I didn't say that.
Oh, he's male, isn't he? I mean, come on.
No, that's not true.
Oh.
That's not true. That is a
That
limiting
is a
belief.
joke.
No, but I think that like so. What's my question? Sorry, I just detract myself. Instead of saying like you're no good at this, like what's the best way to approach something that's like not attacking someone, saying like, oh yeah, clearly you're not a good dancer. Like what's the best way to, in this like scenario, what's the best way to kind of get the best out of them?
So, for example, what elements, if you're able to break it down, if you look at the performance, if that's the right word, of your boyfriend on the dance floor, what wasn't,
class.
or class, what wasn't working apart from everything?
Well, because I've been dancing for a long time, like I've been dancing since I was really young, so I think that me being better, just being more experienced in dancing, already he's like, I don't really want to do it because you're going to be so much better than me.
Okay, so there's limiting belief there,
yeah,
first of
this
all.
First kind of thing. Then he said, what did he say next? Then he said, oh, everyone in the class is better than me.
Okay, universal quantifier, we know from the meta model, everyone.
Everyone in the
And it may be true in the class, be careful with that. Okay.
And there wasn't. Like, I'm being the observer in this class, like, there was people who are much worse off. Like, and I'm talking about can't even find the beat of a song.
Okay,
so,
let's not attack other people. Let's stay on your boyfriend.
But I'm just saying, like,
Sure.
that definitely was not the case, is what
Okay.
I'm kind of saying.
Well, point that out. You could say, okay,
Yeah.
so clearly, you have more ability at this stage
Yeah.
than these people at this stage.
Yeah.
The map is not the territory.
In terms of the skill level, for example.
Yeah.
Maybe nobody's ever taught him rhythm, so you need to understand and
Yeah.
appreciate rhythm better.
Precise.
It's difficult to dance without understanding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So could there be something that you can develop on a skill level? Just spend some time with rhythm, and you can have someone walking in a room, have some music playing, and you can get them in a non-intimidating environment, so you can deal with the limiting belief as well, and just get somebody used to walking, even if the footstep is going down on the beat, for example, is a start. Yeah, and you can break it down, and you can destroy all of that.
So can you, like, when something's wrong, okay, let's just say the dancing
How do we get there? Okay. Yes.
When something's wrong, like in say the dancing situation, could you go through this?
When something's wrong.
Well, when something's not working,
Uh huh.
can you go through kind of this thing and address it on all the levels? Say like say skills, say limiting, say beliefs and values. Sorry, I can't really see it very well. Beliefs and values and things like that. Can you kind of go down that line?
Okay, just for a second, if we were coaching this person, we could say, okay, first of all, let's talk about your environment, okay? The people around you, do you have the right people around you? Do you have a dance teacher? Do you have somebody, a rhythm teacher and all this kind of stuff, yeah? So we can look at the environment. Is it conducive to this person learning how to dance, okay? People around the environment, do you have access to the space, the music, the equipment, etc., etc., etc.? Okay, what is it that you're doing? Behavior. Telling myself that I can't. Okay, we're stepping into the value of beliefs there. But what is it that you're doing? Do you go to dance classes, for example? Clearly, he does with you. Do you go? Do you take it? Do you take it seriously? Yeah. Do you actually intend to learn, etc., etc.? What are your behaviors, skills, and capabilities? Do you, can you work with rhythm? Can you shake off, again, moving into beliefs, but can you shake off the belief that you can't do it to allow yourself access to develop the skills? Yeah? And what do you believe? Values and beliefs? Certainly beliefs, limiting beliefs, get rid of the limiting beliefs. Is it that I'm a man, men don't dance? My sense of identity as a man is that I don't do that stuff, for example.
It's funny that we were watching, like, 50 years ago, everybody can dance, female, male, whatever. But now it's kind of gone to the thing is, only chicks.
I don't believe my mother could. Sorry.
Universal quantifier, most people, it was more common that a male and
did.
female could dance.
Mhm.
But now it's kind of gone to like, only chicks dance. Only girls dance. Only girls dance. Something like, is that kind of
Well, yeah.
putting yourself?
So what we're doing, all of these things will come about. Yeah, identity and mission.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Really, it's not motivated to go.
Well, here you go. Here's another thing. Goal setting, one of the key, if not the key element in goal setting is it has to be about something that you want, not because other people want you to do it, because you can't get motivated based on other people's desires. You can get really motivated based on your own. Because if you're motivated by other people's desires for you to do something, when you hit an obstacle, it's not enough to push you through it. Yeah? So all those kind of things. This is an incredibly useful tool, it's goal setting, in that context. Does that make sense? Yeah. So okay. So the point was, just to keep it on point. I hope that helps.
Yeah.
But the point was, very much that feedback is essential. The feedback loop is essential. Now, as we go through this course and you start working with somebody on a one-to-one basis, when all of those things are going to be happening for the first time together in the same instance, it's going to feel like driving that car. Suddenly your ability to speak the English language is going to sound like seriously diminished. Suddenly your ability to calibrate somebody's breathing, if you're focusing on that, you forget everything else, etc., etc. It's going to be clunky. Yeah? That's great. Embrace that. Embrace it. Because that is what's going to make you really good at it later. Does that make sense? If you beat yourself up about it, what you are doing is starting to construct a brick wall around you that will make it very difficult for you to do it. If you take a lack of achievement in terms of the outcome, because if you don't achieve what you set out to achieve, if you then say, oh, it's no good, I'm going to take my ball home now, or whatever it is, then you're not going to progress beyond that. But if you take, what happened there was this, that, and the other. Okay, so what was it that made me block that? What was it, et cetera, that I was doing? And take the feedback. Listen to the feedback. Yeah? Incorporate the learnings from that, because the next time you do it, it's at a different level. And the next time you do it after that, it's at a different level. You may then have a setback. Take the learnings from that. It could be because you've started to run a pattern that you often run, yeah, that again holds you back. Overcome that. Take the learning and move on. This, for me, is one of the biggest ones. In life in general, there is no failure. There is only feedback. Yeah? So that's a biggie. People respond to their map of the world, not reality. We've kind of covered that. Yeah? People respond to their map of the world, not reality. There are no resistant clients, only inflexible communicators. Resistance is a sign of a lack of what? Rapport. Now, as difficult, potentially, and here's me putting suggestion in right away, as it may seem, to build rapport with certain individuals, you can build rapport with anyone. With some people, you may have to work a little bit harder, but you can build rapport with anyone. The mind and the body are a linked system. What does this mean? The mind and the body are a linked system.
One affects one, will affect the other.
Yeah. The mind and the body are a completely linked system. Placebo effects, Mr. Doctor. Placebo effects, and we talk about people getting psychosomatic illnesses. We talk about miracles that happen when doctors can't explain how somebody gets better, etc., etc. Belief systems are a big one. Talk about Robert Dilts again. Robert Dilts is featuring a lot this morning.
Yes.
Robert Dilts' mother had terminal cancer. She was given 3 months to live. And so Robert Dilts spent 2 months solidly with her. And at one point, she was 60, I believe, she said to Robert, my grandmother died when she was 60. My mother died when she was 60. And I kind of, in a strange way, feel it's a bit disrespectful for me to live beyond 60. That's what she said to him.
Wow.
He then said to her, is that what you want for your daughter?
Wow.
Which is a complete reframe. And it kind of had that wow kind of effect, because it was just like something so simple and yet has an amazing, amazing internal effect at a belief level, core level, value level, etc., etc. She lived for 18 years after that. Working with beliefs is incredibly powerful. And the mind having an effect on the body, as the body also has an effect on the mind. Yeah? We talk about physicality. I often talk about the link between NLP and acting, for example, because actors are trained very much outside of the processes themselves in a very similar way as NLP, because we're talking about what makes people function. Yeah? We're talking about what people do that affects their performance. And it's a completely linked system. Stanislavski was the first person to develop actor training at the turn of the 1800s into the 1900s. And what Stanislavski said, that our emotions will affect our physicality, but at the same time, our physicality affects our emotions. So we'll look at that as we go through this course. But the mind and the body are a completely linked system. Yeah? So we will explore that and examine that.
Yeah, I suppose this is just another example. Like, if you have a stressful day at work, you come home, you have a headache, so the stress is converting into that physical symptom.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I love having doctors on these courses. I really do. Really do. So thank you for being here, Doctor, because I know how busy you are. I know normally we'd only get 6 minutes, but it's... 5 minutes, beg your pardon.
With me, you get an hour.
Whoa.
You have to pay though.
It would be a new assessment.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. All procedures should increase wholeness and choice. The whole thing about NLP, it's about increasing choices. Yeah, it's about increasing choices. When we expand our map of the world, we expand our choices of behavior. If our map is big, we have lots of choice. If our map is very small, we have very limited choice. In NLP, the whole point is to increase your level of choice. Because based on that presupposition, that if you have more choice, you will choose the best option available to you. So if you have 100 choices, it's a lot better than 5 in terms of the scope of your flexibility. Does that make sense? Yep.